There was a photograph tucked between the pages of the notebook. Shin Min-gyu stopped. His father's old notebook, the cover worn through, a thick volume. He had found it at the very bottom of his father's desk drawer. He opened it to look through it and something caught his fingers. Tucked in the middle, a photograph, small, black and white, and alongside it, a small piece of paper folded flat. He unfolded the paper. His father's handwriting, pressed firmly with a pen. Old but clear. This photograph belongs to O Hyeon-seong. I borrowed a notebook from him and when he returned it this was inside. I could not return it. 20 years have passed. Find him. He is from the riverside village to the south. He probably thinks he lost this. A name Min-gyu had never once heard. O Hyeon-seong. Not from his father. Not in 23 years of living together. His father had borrowed a notebook from someone, received it back, and found this photograph inside. He had known it was not his. He had kept it for 20 years. And he had said this person probably thinks he lost this. He turned the photograph over. A man in his 30s. Large clear eyes. Smiling. Outdoors somewhere. Trees in the background. Summer. He turned it over. On the back, in pencil 1995. 27 years ago. His father had died 64 days ago. Before dawn, he had come out of his room to find him on the floor. Heart failure. His heart had been weak for years. The evening before had given nothing away. Dinner, television, the usual cough, bed. Nothing more. The funeral had passed. His older brother came from far away and left after 3 days. Min-gyu remained alone. His mother had died when he was 15. After that, he and his father had lived together in this house. For 23 years, now only Min-gyu remained. He had not moved a single thing from his father's room. Not the cushion, not the teacup, not the slippers. For more than 2 months he had put off sorting. Today he had finally made himself go in. The desk, the bottom drawer, the notebook. His father had been a quiet man. Not warm, but not frightening. Simply still. He swept the yard. He walked briefly in the alley and came back. He set dinner on the table each evening. They ate and watched television and said very little. For 23 years, Min-gyu had never once asked what his father was thinking. His father had never offered. That was how this house had worked. And this notebook had been in the bottom drawer the whole time. With a photograph inside that belonged to someone else. For 20 years. And a note that said he probably thinks he lost this. The next morning he went to find the oldest resident of the village. A man named Cho Ji-isu, close to 80. Who had known his father since they were young. He showed him the photograph and the note. He said the name O Hyeon-seong. Village to the south by the river. The old man looked at the photograph. He read the note. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said O Hyeon-seong. He worked near your father when your father was young. Came from the riverside village to the south. Stayed a few years and went back home. More than 20 years ago. I don't know anything about a borrowed notebook. Your father never said. I don't know where he is now. I only heard he went back south. Through inquiries over the following days, a name and number were found. A man named O Hyeon-seong was living in the riverside village to the south. In his early 60s, the name matched. He called. A man answered, low and quiet. Min-gyu said, my name is Shin Min-gyu. I am the son of Shin Tae-ho. My father died 64 days ago. I found a photograph tucked inside a notebook. While sorting through his belongings, there was a note in my father's writing, saying the photograph belonged to O Hyeon-seong. The line went quiet for a long time. Then the man said Tae-ho has gone. Something in the voice, old and quiet. He said I would like to meet you in person. Will you come? He said tomorrow. The next morning Min-gyu took the early bus with the photograph, note, and notebook in his bag. 2.5 hours. A village beside a river to the south. A place he had never visited. Warm late April wind off the water. Spring fully arrived. Not arriving anymore. Simply here. Leaves full and green on every branch. He found the house, a vegetable plot in the yard. Spring greens well up now. He knocked. Quick, clear footsteps. The door opened. A man in his early 60s. Half white hair. Lines on his face. But his eyes were large and clear. Alive. A worn jacket. Both hands in the pockets. He looked at Min Gyu for a long time. Then he said, "You have Tae Ho's forehead." Min Gyu could not answer. They sat across a worn wooden table. 2 cups of tea just poured. On one wall, photographs. Several frames. Different eras. One of them caught Min Gyu before he sat down. A young man outdoors in summer. Trees behind him. Smiling. A color photograph. The same moment as the black and white photograph in his pocket. The same man. The same trees. The same smile. 2 photographs from the same day. Min Gyu placed the photograph on the table. Then the note. Then the notebook. The man looked at the photograph. He reached out and picked it up. Then stopped. He held it in his open palm. He looked at his own younger face. He turned it over. 1995. He had written that himself. He looked at it for a long time. His eyes changed. Something old and deep moved in them. He picked up the note and read it. He read it through. He set it down. He picked up the notebook. He looked at the cover. His hands trembled slightly. He exhaled, long and slow. He said, "Tae Ho kept this for 20 years. Min Gyu said, "Inside that notebook. In his desk drawer." He said nothing about it in 23 years of living together. Today was the first time I knew. The man set the notebook and note on the table. The photograph he kept in his hand. He looked out the window at the river briefly. Then he spoke. "About 20 years ago, I was still working near your father at the time. I borrowed a notebook from him for a few days. I had things I needed to record." He lent it without hesitation. "When I returned it, I had no idea this photograph was still tucked inside. I had completely forgotten. A single photograph. I thought I had lost it. I looked for it. I couldn't find it. For 20 years I thought it was gone." Min Gyu asked, "Was this photograph important to you?" The man was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Yes, my mother took this photograph. It was the day she first used a camera. She made a mistake with the setting. And it came out black and white without her meaning to. I kept it because of that. Because it was the only photograph my mother had ever taken of me. She passed away the following year. So this is the last photograph my mother ever took. And I thought I had lost it. For 20 years. Min Gyu's eyes burned. He closed them slowly. Then opened them. The last photograph his mother had ever taken of him. He had thought it was lost for 20 years. But it had been in his father's desk drawer. In a notebook. The whole time. His father had not known this. He had only known it was someone's photograph. Someone who would probably think it was lost. That had been enough reason to keep it for 20 years. That had been his father's way. Min Gyu said, "I will say what my father could not say." He kept this because he knew it was not his to throw away. He thought of you. He knew you were looking for it. For 20 years he kept it in that notebook. Because he intended to find the way to return it. And at the very end he trusted me to carry it back. That was his way of finishing what he could not finish. The man looked at Min Gyu for a long time. Something old moved through his eyes. Then he bowed his head slowly and deeply. He held it down for a long moment. When he raised it, his eyes were wet at the inner corners. He did not let it fall. He said, "Thank you, and thank your father. He kept my mother's photograph for 20 years. He didn't even know what it was. He just knew it belonged to someone." Would you have felt the weight of this moment more before you knew? The photograph was taken by someone's mother or after. The two men sat without speaking. The photograph on the table. The notebook beside it. The note. Spring wind outside. River sound. April, fully and completely spring. The leaves outside so thick they were no longer pale. Full green now. The man said, "Take the notebook back. It was your father's. I returned it to him and he kept it all this time. It belongs with his son now. The photograph is mine. Everything is where it belongs." Min-gyu received the notebook with both hands. His father's notebook. It had held a photograph for 20 years without anyone knowing. The photograph was gone now, but the notebook remained. He came home after dark. He went to his father's desk. He opened the bottom drawer. He placed the notebook back, in that same spot, where his father had kept it for 20 years. He closed the drawer. His father had been a quiet man, but not a man without thought for others. He had kept a photograph for 20 years, because he believed the person it belonged to was still looking for it. He had not known it was the last photograph a mother had ever taken. He had simply known it was not his to discard. That had been enough. That was who his father had been. A man who kept what was not his to let go. Min-gyu had learned one part of that today. Perhaps too late, but today was enough. What is thought to be lost is not always gone. Sometimes it waits between the pages of an old notebook for 20 years, waiting for someone to open it all the way, and waiting for a photograph to find its way back to the person who thought it was lost forever. If this story stayed with you, the next one begins here too.